Hey, welcome to Northumberland Zoo on YouTube. My name is Maxine and I work here. Huge apologies for the delay in getting a video out recently. We had our Easter holidays, and our Easter holidays are a bit mad because we get like an extended period of holidays. It should be 2 weeks in the UK, but because we're like 45 minutes from the Scottish border, we also get like 1 or 2 weeks of Scottish people as well. So our Easter holidays are like 4 weeks long. We welcomed over 16,000 people, which is a lot. So really successful. If you came down, thank you so much. But yeah, it was really busy. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I did mention in my last video a couple of weeks ago about crayfish that we have some very exciting news to share. So I'm going to be going through that and what that means for our future. And obviously future talk is always very exciting. And we have come a very long way in a very short period of time. So for those of you who watch the channel regularly, you know that we're just a small family-run zoo, me and my mum and dad. And we started this by accident. It was never meant to be a zoo, but we kind of started it back in kind of 2012 maybe, I don't know. And originally this is what we had. This was the original kind of area that we came down and rented, and we had this kitchen over here. And that is where we used to make beef jerky. So we were actually the largest producers of beef jerky in the UK, which is a bit weird. But you may have noticed that my accent is a little bit weird, and that's because we lived in the States for a very long time. And one of the things over there that we really liked was beef jerky. And 20 years ago, beef jerky wasn't really a thing in the UK. So we actually, there was a unit came available, and we decided to rent that unit and make beef jerky. And once that became really successful, we then rented this other unit over in the corner over here, unit 2, and we made that into like a little shop to sell our beef jerky.
That took or not?
People would come down and there was nothing else here. This was just an empty field, empty fields. They would come down, buy beef jerky in our tiny little shop, and then leave, and it was really sad. So what we did was we then kind of converted the rest of that indoor area, and we made like a little coffee machine. We had a little glass cabinet for like muffins and scones, so people would buy beef jerky, have a coffee, and then leave. So what we did then was we knocked a hole through the wall. We made like a little conservatory bit, and in that area we then provided lots of windows and a nice view out into the open blank field. From there we then got 4 chickens. And then we got some goats. And then we got some donkeys. And in the meantime, I always wanted to work in a zoo, so I actually went and I studied animal management, and I went to Chester Zoo. I worked down there for 4 years. But meanwhile, while I was away, my parents were still here building, and because there's no other zoos in this area, the numbers grew very quickly. So it went from having a couple of visitors to come down, because all we had in the field was we just had a whole bunch of like little pens and paddocks that just had chickens in them. And I tell you what, we had every type of breed of chicken you could possibly want to look at. We had Cochins, we had Silkies, we had Buff Orpingtons, we had all kinds of weird stuff. And people would come down buy some beef jerky, go for a wander around all these chicken pens, sometimes steal eggs, and once you've seen one chicken, you've seen all the chickens. So my parents then got like their first exotics, which was Smokey and Bandit, which was 2 meerkats, and had them in a little shed. And then we got Bert the raccoon. And it kind of went from there.
Because we've got to show the workers. Oh, darn.
And in the UK, the law is that when you have any exotic animals on show to the public for more than 7 days of the year, you have to have a zoo license. So the council were like, you guys need to get a zoo license. Meanwhile, I was down at Chester Zoo. I was working on the twilight section, and that was with spectacled bears and red pandas and giant anteaters and sloths. So I am very much a keeper. That's my background. And my parents were like, we need to get a zoo license. So I decided to leave Chester Zoo and come back home. In 2015, we passed our first zoo license inspection. The name of our zoo was Ashut Animal Park. Yep, good luck with that one. That is because this location is called Ashut, so it made total sense at the time. Little did we know that we were going to be as big and as popular as what we are now. So in 2018, we changed our name to Northumberland Country Zoo, which made a lot more sense. And now we're just Northumberland Zoo. So yeah, a lot has happened in a very short period of time. So we got our license in 2015. During COVID, I was applying for BIASA accreditation. So BIASA is the British and Irish Association of Zoos and Aquaria, and that's like a good zoo kind of stamp. So when you get your zoo license in the UK, you have to meet a certain set of standards with regards to education, conservation, research, animal husbandry. There's a lot of different areas that you have to kind of tick within your zoo. And to become part of BIASA, you have to excel in all of those categories. So we actually gained our BIASA accreditation in 2021. So that was just 7 years after getting our zoo license, which is really, really good. But what does being part of BIASA even mean? Like, it is a bit of a, like, what the hell is that? BIASA, obviously between zoos, every person who's in a zoo knows what that is. But when you're a visitor, it doesn't really mean a great deal. But what it does mean is that we've actually excelled in everything that we could do, and we're doing things above and beyond than what we technically have to as per what the council is. From our point of view, it's just how it should be. But BIASA gives us access to a lot more things, so we can actually join endangered species breeding programs. So through BIASA, we managed to get snow leopards. So if we hadn't become members of BIASA, then we wouldn't have snow leopards. We wouldn't have half of the species that we have now, and we definitely wouldn't have the bats. So that's quite a big thing. So BIASA was a natural progressive step for us. What's this all about? What am I leading up to? Well, 2 years ago, we put an application in to join EASA. So EASA is like the next level up. So that's the European Association of Zoos and Aquaria. And like, there's only 44 zoos in the UK that are EASA accredited, and like EASA is like a whole nother standard. The inspection is just totally different. Anyways, we got a bit of a surprise call, and in December they were like, we're coming in March. And because it's the European Association, that means that they send over inspectors from European zoos, like big zoos. And we're just so small. And so there was 2 inspectors came over from Holland, and then we had 1 inspector from London Zoo, because they always have 1 from your home country. And they come over at the beginning of March, and it was a 3-day inspection. It was super intense. The questionnaire is like 160 odd questions, and they wanted to see everything, and they want to see your 10-year master plan. They want to see everything. So much preparation and everything goes into that, and it's quite a strain on the team. But 4 weeks later, the beginning of April, we were actually invited over to the EASA Directors Day meeting. It's a thing. Yes, there are meetings in the world just about zoos. Mad, right? But all the directors of the big EASA collections are invited to go to these directors meetings once a year. And during that meeting, we found out that we had become full accredited members of EASA, which is insane, because I mean, we were kind of expecting, because there's like different levels of it. So full accredited means you've completely met all of the expectations and the criteria. Then there's like provisional, which means that you can get there within 2 years. So they give you kind of like a list of things to do to achieve it, and then they'll come out and they'll inspect you again in 2 years' time. So I was kind of like aiming for that level, but yeah, we got full accreditation. So you're like, what does this mean? What does EASA mean? Well, EASA is insane. So now it really has changed our plans a little bit, because like I said, being one of like 40 odd collections in the UK that's now EASA accredited, our master plan completely changed. Our outlook changes. It gives us access to a lot more resources from the zoo community in Europe, but also it means that we can feed in and share what we do at the zoo and what we do best, feed into that community, which is really cool to be a part of. During our inspection, our screeners, they stated that our native species projects were like our really, really strong points, which is really cool to be that have people from EASA say that. So that's our harvest mice, our crayfish. We've got some talks with a couple of different species at the moment, so there's some stuff in the pipeline. So they said that that was really good. But becoming part of EASA means that it opens you up to having a lot more species, obviously. And that's kind of what I'm getting to. So when you're part of EASA, you can only have access to 5 EEPs. So what's an EEP? An EEP is a European Endangered Species Breeding Program. So currently we have met our maximum EEP amount. So we've got the snow leopards, we've got the Livingston fruit bats, the grey mouse lemurs, there's Gweldy's monkeys, white-faced saki monkeys on it. So some of them are breeding and some of them are not. So we've actually exceeded the number of EEPs, but only there's less than 5 of them that are actually breeding or have breeding recommendation. So being part of EASA means that it opens that door up. So there's actually no limit to how many EEPs that you can have. So that means that our master plan has totally changed. Not totally changed, but it just means that we can target endangered species. So over the next few years, you'll probably see some changes at the zoo where we'll probably be moving away from least concern and more kind of common species. Obviously, we'll still keep the ones that are super popular, but replacing them with ones that are actually part of endangered species breeding program. So that means we're going to be doing a lot more breeding at the zoo, which is super cool. And because they're part of a managed EEP, that means that there's a EEP coordinator. I've mentioned this before, but what that person does for every single endangered species is they actually manage that population. So they're kind of like the god. So let's take red panda, for instance, because that's the first animal I always think about. Red panda have a stud bookkeeper who's based in Holland, and this person basically has an entire catalogue of every single red panda in captivity in the EEP. There's like 1,400 of them. And this person can look at all of the history and the genetics of the animals. And when you want to get red panda, you contact this one person. You send them over your plans, you send them over your kind of ideas of what space you've got, the experience of your staff. Obviously, if you're EASA accredited, because that kind of like is a massive tick, because without EASA, you can't get them. And then they look at their books and they're like, right, this one goes really well with that one. They can pair up and they can breed and they'll produce genetically viable offspring. So for every single one of these EEPs, which is like 460 or something, there's one of these EEP coordinators. So what we can do is obviously then we can target which species that we want. So we have got quite a long list of species. And I haven't really directly mentioned it before, but we've also got quite a bit of land. So the zoo that we're stood on at the moment is 20 acres roughly that you can walk around, but we've got 27 in total. And what we've done in the last couple of years, kind of preparing for this moment, is we've acquired an additional 65 acres. Don't get too excited. I am not building an extra 65 acres of zoo, because that's just insane. I value my sanity, right? But what we have got is a similar plot of land which runs along the river, continues kind of towards the sea, with mixed woodland habitats. There's some flat spaces, great for hoofy things, lots of nice trees. And I can tell you that we will be getting species that are climatically appropriate. That means that we're not going to be fighting against the elements to keep them. So I can tell you right now, we're not getting any lions, we're not getting giraffes, but we have got plans to get some really exciting species that will fit our climate. Because from a sustainability and an environmentally friendly point of view, what we don't want to be doing is fighting against the elements to try and keep these animals warm, or they have to spend the majority of their time locked inside because it's not warm enough for them to go out. That to me doesn't make sense. So we will do really, really well with species that actually will totally match our current climate. So we have pinpointed a whole area. We've got a 3-phase plan, which I will share at some point. But we've literally just become members of IAZA, so we're all just kind of like very excited. We've obviously put out a lot of contacts to these EEP coordinators, getting things lined up. It's very exciting. So you will see over the next year, once we finish the snow leopard project, we are going to be moving that way, and that is going to be off show. And the plan is that we're going to be building several enclosures and a new perimeter fence around this whole block. And we'll just open up a section at a time. So you'll get to access a few new species at a time. And we're hoping it'll be as soon as 2026, which is literally like next year. Oh my God. But do you know what? When you increase the size of the zoo, you also need to increase the size of your car park, and then you need more toilets, and then you need bigger doors, and then you need this. It's literally like Zoo Tycoon. I don't know if you've ever played Zoo Tycoon, but I lived on it as a child, so this is like my bread and butter of this is where we need a sign, and this is how we should do it. So we are like playing a bit of a mad game right now, but our biggest challenge that we've got at the minute is that the new piece of land is actually on the other side of a public byway. Now this is a historic public byway that perhaps the farmers used to use to get to the A1, and well, obviously we have no neighbours, we're the only people that live here, so there's no people walking their dog down there, there's no horses going through there, there's just every now and then we get 4x4s and motorbikes, which is really annoying. So what we're trying to do is gain back the rights to that byway to make access to it, because we're trying to figure out how to get you to the new area. So we can build a bridge, we can build a tunnel, we can go on tractor rides. There's so many different options, like my head's exploding. But that's our main kind of barrier. So we're working with planning people right now, we're working with the council, trying to figure out a solution for this byway. But we'll get there. And because our visitor numbers are going up and up and up, I have like full confidence that we're going to achieve this and the council are going to be behind it. So anyways, that was a lot to take in. I apologize, but that's the exciting news. We are IAZA members, and IAZA even changed their entire process. So they took a bit of a year out last year and they didn't do any inspections, and they actually kind of upped their accreditation. So they increased all of their standards so much. So they rolled out this new IAZA accreditation inspection, which we were the first. We were in the first batch of zoos to get inspected, and there was 16 zoos that got inspected earlier this year, and only 5 have been accredited, which, I mean, that's insane. Like, we did really well. So, and the team did really well. Like, honestly, like, if it wasn't for this team, then we wouldn't be where we are, but everything has to happen for a reason. So, you know, if you don't become IAZA, you don't attract that kind of level of staff, experienced staff, because it's all about the people. But anyways, I've talked enough. If you've got any questions, pop them down below. I'm not going to give you any species hints at the moment. I think I've given you enough. But I'll announce things as and when it happens, because what I don't want to do is get people's hopes up for X, Y, and Z, and then it falls through. Because sometimes, you know, when you're planning these EEP species, you're planning them years in advance. So you're kind of expecting on things to be born or things to survive. So, you know, you can make plans, but ultimately, I don't want to let people down. But it's exciting. Anyways, if you haven't done already, please do remember to like this video and subscribe to the Northumberland Zoo YouTube channel and support everything that we do. And I shall see you next time.